Let's talk about loops. I don't know you, but as a DBA, I have a lot of need to look through my database results. So I combine the shell and the database capabilities on the command line. Let's say what the loops look like on the shell. On the shell you can say like this: for a variable name in a list of values, do, and then you put a command, and the command can use the variable that you have defined before with a dollar on at the beginning. And finally, when you finish doing what you need to do, you say done. The result is that you get what is between do and done executed n times. For each one of these values, you get one execution. And you can put more than one command there. And you can put the loop in one line. This is what I usually do, because on the command line you don't want to hit return too many times. You just want to do things quickly. So instead of return, I put a semicolon here, a semicolon there, and I'm done. The result is the same. And I can do the same thing without using the explicit results. So I can use an application that will produce 1, 2, 3, or will produce whatever I need. In this case, I produce 1, 2, 3 using the sequence command from 1 to 3. This will produce 1, 2, and 3, and then the command equal thesis number n, and so on. The same thing I can do with the contents of one file. So if my file contains this kind of values, words, I can say for you in head this file. So this command will just print what we have seen before. Do what? Call Perl. So we are mixing the bash shell, we are mixing one command, and we are mixing Perl. And Perl will do an uppercase of shift. What is shift? Shift will take the first thing that you produce in the command line. What is it? That thing that you produce in the command line is $u that comes from this. There are other ways of doing this, but this is just an example of how you can mix Perl and shell. Actually, you can do this with shell directly, with Perl directly on the command line, but I don't want to twist your brains so early in the presentation. So you can do a loop from a list of values from the result of from the context of a file, or you can do that from the result that comes from another application. The application could be simply sequence 1, 2, 3, or it can be a database query. So database query could be show tables from Word. Now, notice, I use the minus uppercase B here to remove the head, to force the batch mode, minus uppercase N to force not to use the header, and this is what I get. I get just the name of the tables. So the tables are 3 tables here. What do I do with this with these table names? For table name here in this command, so the result of this command will be city, country, and country language. What do? I create another command, and the command is create table in another database with the name word, the same name of the table, using the table definition on the old database. And this is what I get. Create a table, word to city, like word city, and so on. Clear so far? There is one more step to do. So now we have combined the output from the database to get the commands. Now it's time to give back those commands to the database. So once we have created the 3 queries, I can give them back to MySQL, and MySQL will execute them and tell me if they are right or wrong. So, ready for more? Okay, so let's see what you can do. You can shoot yourself in the foot with a machine gun very quickly with nested loops. So we have seen loops of 1 level only. Let's see loops of 2 levels. 2 levels could be, let's start with the database list that you can get from MySQL. Then within one database you can get the tables. And you want to do something for each table, for each database. This is what it looks like. For each database, you do get the table list, and for each table, you do something like print the table name. So the fake code here is quite simple, and the good news is that the real code is very similar to the fake code. So in this case, we can use an alias. My batch equals MySQL minus b minus n, and for each database that comes from this command, show schemas, do for each table that comes from show tables from this database, and then do something here that in this case is just printing the database name and the table name. Depending on your machine, you can get just a dozen lines, or you can get several hundreds, depending on how many tables you have. Everything clear so far? Good. Now, how to make your life easier? If you want to play with the command line and a database, you should use option files. Option files in the case of MySQL are files where you can put information for the database server and the database client, and you can put them in a place where the client can find them depending on how you want to play the game. So if you put them in your home, this is what your client will look for whenever you call MySQL. MySQL, the client, not the server. If you want something that only the server can see, this is where you should put it. Or, if you want to be creative, you can tell the database client where to find these option files. Inside the file, you can have sections for the server, section for the client, meaning for each client, and section for the specific MySQL client that you are using. For example, you can say for the client, the user is this and the password is that, so you don't have to type that on the command line, and you can have a specific prompt. Be careful though. If you put your password on the client, on the option file, make sure that only your user can see that. So you have to protect that. One useful thing that you can do is to set a prompt that tells you where you are inside the database client. So if you put \h will tell you the name of the host of the server, U will tell you the user, and \d will tell you the database that you are using. For instance, in this case, you have none as database, you change database, and then it becomes test.